Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Swiss Exciting Times. We are going to cover Decentraland once again. I'm currently here on Twitter and I'm looking at this tweet by Decentra P. And here's what's being said. Wen VR. Haven't seen a single tweet about it in literally over 1.5 years, but you all said it would be here last year. What a question. And I thought, is that true? And actually, it is true. We were supposed to see some kind of VR client by now, and we haven't seen any. And I don't have any information on what's going on. So today I want to speculate a little bit on what's probably causing this delay in VR first. But also, I would like to talk about what's been happening in Decentraland over the last couple of months and where I see the whole metaverse space at this very moment. I'm probably not going to be able to cover every single detail. We haven't spoken about the metaverse here on the channel for quite some time now, and I just want to take the first stab at this wonderful topic once again. Hopefully this is going to be exciting for you to follow with me. All right, guys, so let's just quickly go back to the blog. There is a blog section on the Decentraland.org's website for everybody who is new. And there you have a pretty good overview of what has been happening. All the major announcements are usually quite nicely summarized here on this page. And if you kind of scroll down and see over the last 12 months, all the way to, let's say, January 2023, you see that a lot has been announced, a lot has been happening. The Decentraland Foundation has not been lazy. They have not been as aggressive as up-and-coming metaverses with fewer developers and smaller teams. But that's probably normal. There's a little bit of a bureaucracy that probably kind of starts to sneak into the organization once it grows. So that is to be expected. But hopefully they will gain momentum over the course of the year and deep inside 2024, because we are waiting for this VR client that they have promised, and this is definitely going to be a game changer. But I think there are a couple of obstacles. We have to be realistic. Let's quickly have a look at what they have delivered until now. Most of the stuff are probably considered as gimmicks by a lot of people. I mean, yes, we have emotes now. Yes, we have an additional wearable category, handwear. While for us as community members, this is exciting stuff because we understand that this can actually double the number of ways that we can express ourselves in world. But this is just because we have been so limited over such a long period of time. Having a possibility to create custom emotes and not being like restricted by the usual emotes is a big deal. But for outsiders, they are expecting a lot of that functionality. They think of the metaverse as like a duplicate life online. And we know that, at least from our perspective, that's not the case. Now, having an additional wearables category falls into the same category, I would say. Yes, it's great to have an additional slot for where we can create a custom wearable for, but this stuff, these two options are not for the mass market. Most people will not create emotes or their own wearables. This is for semi-technical people or for people who are extremely motivated to get something done, and they will not hesitate to hire someone, maybe even multiple people, just to get a collection ready. But for most retail users, this is already too technical. And I'm not even talking about announcements like the AI NPC or smart wearables. This stuff I wouldn't touch because I don't even know what it would take to get this outsourced. This stuff is complicated and I haven't seen any great implementations of that. So for the most part, this whole roadmap that we have seen being delivered, except for the events, which kind of cater to the existing dev and the existing designer communities. For the most part, this is for developers. Like, this is not for a retail audience. And I think Decentraland is well aware of that. And I think we are all well aware that the end user, the retail player in Decentraland, is kind of limited by the progress that the dev communities make. And they are not making a lot of progress. If you look at the map today, and we're not talking about developing dynamic experiences, we're talking about just static architectural kind of development in Decentraland, it is still underdeveloped. It's been over 3 years since I'm part of the community. We are not seeing enough creativity on this map. And there are reasons for that. First of all, maybe the land is not in builders' hands, and its pricing has been exorbitant during the bull market. Certain lands sold for 12,000 mana, not 12,000 mana, 5, 6,000 mana at a mana valuation of $3 and higher. So these were unaffordable, unachievable prices for anybody outside the crypto space. And it was laughable because people came into the world, media came into the world, they were on the train of the metaverse hype, and they joined and they didn't see any content in the world or very little of it. And I'm not saying that it hasn't improved. I think since the day I joined, there have been many buildings from important companies that have kind of established some kind of HQ in Decentraland, but it's not enough. It's not enough. So I don't know. I think before we can expect a VR client to go live, we need to see more content in Decentraland. And now the question arises, how do we get more content into Decentraland? And until now, what we have done is using the builder tool that exists in Decentraland, and this requires you to upload assets that you have to create in Blender. Most people don't know how to use Blender, and then they're facing a lot of limitations when they're uploading these assets to Decentraland. So they make it as hard as humanly possible to put any content on Decentraland. And yes, of course, there are limitations, there are technical limitations, and of course, you need a certain technical understanding of people. But if you want to have end users join Decentraland, there needs to be a solution to this. So what we have tried doing is actually to create a modular system where you can drag and drop your building together and then use these modules to compile something inside the builder. But even that was too complex for people. That meant downloading modules, uploading them into Decentraland, compiling them through a drag and drop tool. That was too complicated. So it needs to be simpler. We need to have an even simpler tool. And I was contacted by a couple of guys from Pluno, and they're working on a project that will allow you to compile buildings with drag and drop from existing modules. So I think people are starting to see what the original vision was, and they're starting to build around that, and we are going to see people competing in this space. So I'm expecting Decentraland to finally deliver on their promise to build out this SDK 7 into an actual Decentraland editor that can be used by any retailer, not by devs. We don't want to have another tool that is only usable by 5 guys in Decentraland. We need to have something anybody can build something with, and a lot of creating freedom using these tools. So I think before we see a VR client for Decentraland, we will have to have a proper Decentraland editor ready for the retail user without any need for Blender, without any need for dev coding, without any of that. Only if you want to have a super custom experience, you should be needing a dev. Also, I'm expecting some kind of features to animate objects without having dev experience, something that we've seen in the original builder tool, but more advanced. And once we have that, over a period of time, with the help of the community, with the help of you, with the help of me, we can possibly help to entice people to build on this map. And only then would it make sense to launch a VR tool or a VR client. Now, this is 1. 2, I've just had a quick look at where we are with the headset hardware game right now. And while I have experimented with the Meta Quest 2 quite a lot, I think most people have not. Maybe in our community we have a certain percentage that have access to a VR set, and it could probably be actually quite exciting to even use this clunky device for Decentraland. But I also think Decentraland may be waiting for the next generation of hardware, because they know if they launch a VR client, this will be probably the last chance to really impress the mainstream media. That mainstream media has been extremely critical in the last bull market. They have really not been very nice to Decentraland, and for good reason, I would say. And now with VR coming onto the scene, I think it's another, maybe not the last chance, but another chance to really show them what's possible in the metaverse. And we cannot waste this chance. So we need to have at least a decent device, and I think it makes sense to await one more generation of hardware progress. We need to wait for the next iteration in this space. And I think I'm not familiar what Apple has exactly done with their device, but from what I understand, it's extremely expensive and really inaccessible. So this cannot be it. We need to have a cheaper, lighter, more performing device that has a wider penetration in the retail market. And once we have these two factors, hardware and content inside Decentraland, we can start talking about launching a VR client. And then we have a third question that we don't necessarily need to launch, but it would be ideal, is of course the crypto market. We need to have a bull market to get maximum attention. Should we have the right device ready, and should we have a decent client and enough content in Decentraland, then we also need to have the attention, and the attention is probably gonna come mostly through a bull market in the space. So these three things need to align before the foundation can launch such a tool. And this, of course, assumes that they are ready to go, that they have the software ready, which I think they have. I think they have been experimenting with this for some time. It's just not ready to be launched. You don't want to waste this opportunity. So this is my view on what's been going on. Hopefully this was interesting to listen to. I'm going to cover some of the new functionality and some of the news that we have received over the last couple of months, hopefully in other videos. But I think it was really important to just get a decent overview where we are at. And we can definitely cover what's happening in the DAO. I think there's been a lot of change in the DAO. Generally, a lot of things happening in Decentraland, but we just need more content. We need an occupied map. We need more people. We need to have, more engaging experiences. All of these things need to come together this year and next year, and then we will be able to, experience what we were all hoping to experience. And I think, let's close it here. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please do comment in the comment section if you are disappointed, if you're excited, what you are expecting from a VR client, what you are expecting from the metaverse. I think it's a good time to bring that conversation back. All right, guys, take it easy. This was Swiss. Thank you. Bye-bye.